Emma Carter thought she could disappear. For 2 years, she'd hidden herself in the secret growing inside her from the most dangerous man she'd ever loved, Mafia boss Dante Castellano. But today, 8 months pregnant and desperate to finalize their divorce, she walks straight into the lion's den. The moment Dante's eyes lock onto her swollen belly, everything changes. His shock, her terror, their unborn child caught between them. Some secrets are too big to hide. Some men are too powerful to escape. And some love stories are written in blood and redemption. Stay with me until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The elevator doors slid open with a whisper, revealing a lobby that screamed wealth and power in every polished marble surface, every gleaming chrome fixture. Emma Carter stood frozen for a heartbeat, her hand instinctively moving to the swell of her belly beneath the oversized coat she'd chosen specifically to hide her condition. 8 months. She'd managed to stay hidden for 8 months, moving from city to city, using cash, avoiding cameras, living like a ghost. And now she was walking straight back into his world. Just sign the papers and leave, she told herself, forcing one foot in front of the other. He won't even be here. Richard said it would just be the lawyers. The baby kicked, a strong, insistent movement that made Emma's breath catch. Even her daughter seemed to sense the tension, the danger of this place, this building, this city, this man who owned both. Carter? A young woman in an immaculate suit appeared at her elbow, tablet in hand, professional smile firmly in place. Mr. Castellano's legal team is ready for you. 32nd floor, conference room A. Emma nodded, not trusting her voice. The woman gestured toward a private elevator bank, separate from the public lifts. Of course, Dante would have his own elevators. He had his own everything, buildings, businesses, politicians, judges. And once, he'd had her. The elevator ride felt eternal and too short all at once. Emma watched the numbers climb, each floor marking her ascent into a world she'd sworn she'd never return to. 25, 28, 30. The doors opened directly into a reception area that managed to be both elegant and intimidating. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Chicago skyline, the late afternoon sun turning the glass towers into pillars of fire. A young man, another assistant, undoubtedly, led her down a hallway lined with contemporary art that probably cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. Right through here, he said, opening double doors to reveal a conference room dominated by an enormous table of dark wood. 3 people sat on the far side, 2 lawyers in expensive suits flanking an empty chair. No Dante. Emma felt her shoulders relax fractionally. She could do this, sign the papers, leave, disappear again. She'd planned it all. A bus to Indianapolis, then a train to Memphis, then another bus to a small town in Arkansas where she'd already rented a tiny apartment under a fake name. By the time anyone traced her route, she'd be gone again. Ms. Carter, the older lawyer, Richard Moss, Dante's head counsel, stood, gesturing to a chair across from them. Please sit. Can we get you anything? Water? Coffee? Water would be fine. Her mouth felt like sandpaper. Richard nodded to the assistant, who disappeared and returned moments later with a crystal glass of water with lemon. Emma took it gratefully, letting the cool liquid soothe her throat. Now then, Richard opened a leather folder, revealing a stack of documents. These are the final divorce papers. As you can see, Mr. Castellano has been exceptionally generous with the settlement. The apartment on Lakeshore Drive, fully paid, a trust fund that will provide you with $50,000 monthly for life. Access to... I don't want his money, Emma interrupted, her voice sharper than intended. I told you that from the beginning. I just want the divorce finalized. I just want to be free. A brief, uncomfortable silence fell. The 2 lawyers exchanged glances. Ms. Carter, the younger lawyer, a woman with severe features and calculating eyes, leaned forward. You should understand that turning down this settlement would be... I don't care what it would be, Emma said firmly. I didn't marry him for his money. I'm not divorcing him for his money. I just want this over. Richard's expression softened slightly. Emma, you've been gone for 2 years, and all that time Dante never stopped looking for you. He's asked us repeatedly if we'd heard from you. When you finally contacted me about the divorce, he agreed immediately to whatever terms you wanted. This settlement isn't about buying you. It's about making sure you're taken care of. Something twisted in Emma's chest at that. The baby kicked again, harder this time, and she had to bite back a gasp. Taken care of. If Dante knew about the baby, his definition of taken care of would mean something very different. It would mean a gilded cage, bodyguards, security details. It would mean raising their daughter in a world of violence and blood money, where every friend was a potential threat and every moment outside their fortress was a calculated risk. No, she'd escape that life once. She'd do whatever it took to keep her daughter free of it. Just show me where to sign, she said quietly. Richard hesitated, then slid the documents across the table along with an expensive pen. Emma pulled the papers closer, scanning the legal language. Dissolution of marriage, division of assets. She flipped through page after page, her hand shaking slightly as she signed each designated line. She was on the 7th page when she heard it. Footsteps in the hallway, confident, familiar. A cadence she'd recognize anywhere. Emma's pen froze mid-signature. Her head snapped up, eyes wide, meeting Richard's suddenly guilty expression. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "He insisted on being here. I tried to—" The conference room doors swung open, and there he was. Dante Castellano walked into the room like he owned it, which technically he did. He owned the building, the company, probably half the city. But it wasn't ownership that made every eye turn toward him. It was presence, pure, undeniable presence. He'd always had it, that quality that made him impossible to ignore. 6'3" of lean muscle in a custom charcoal suit that probably cost more than a car. Dark hair perfectly styled, sharp jawline, and those eyes, gray like storm clouds, capable of either fury or tenderness, and right now scanning the room with laser focus until they found her. Emma's breath caught. 2 years. It had been 2 years since she'd seen him, and the impact of his presence hit her like a physical force. She'd forgotten, or maybe forced herself to forget, how beautiful he was, how dangerous, how the simple act of him entering a room could change the entire atmosphere. His eyes locked onto hers, and for a moment, the world seemed to stop. Then his gaze dropped lower. Emma saw the exact moment he noticed. She was standing now. When had she stood? And the coat that had seemed so concealing in her apartment mirror suddenly felt transparent. The way she was angled, one hand unconsciously protective over her belly, the unmistakable curve visible even through the heavy fabric. The color drained from Dante's face. "Everyone out," he said, his voice deadly quiet. The lawyers scrambled to their feet. Richard opened his mouth, perhaps to protest, perhaps to mediate, but the look Dante shot him could have frozen fire. Within seconds, the conference room was empty except for Emma and Dante, the door clicking shut behind the retreating legal team. Silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. Dante took one step forward. Emma took one step back. "Is it mine?" His voice was rough, like gravel and broken glass. Emma's hand tightened over her belly. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but there was nowhere to go. She was 32 floors up, with the only exit blocked by 6 feet of dangerous, devastated man. "Emma!" He said her name like a prayer and a curse. "Answer me. Is that baby mine?" She lifted her chin, forcing herself to meet his eyes. "It doesn't matter." "The hell it doesn't." The words exploded from him, and Emma flinched. Immediately, Dante's expression shifted, anguish replacing anger. He held up his hands, stepping back. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to—" He dragged his hands through his hair, destroying its perfect style. "Just tell me, please." The please broke something inside her. She'd heard Dante command, demand, order. She'd heard him threaten and promise, but she'd rarely heard him beg. "Yes," she whispered. "She's yours." "She." Dante's voice cracked on the word. "A daughter." He moved then, crossing the distance between them in 3 long strides. Emma tensed, but he didn't touch her. He stopped just inches away, his eyes fixed on her belly, like it held the secrets of the universe. "Can I—" He raised one hand, hovering near her coat. "May I?" Emma knew she should say no, knew she should maintain the distance, keep the walls up, but the look on his face, the raw wonder and pain and desperate hope, shattered her resolve. She nodded. With trembling fingers, Dante unbuttoned her coat. Emma let it fall open, revealing the simple dress beneath that couldn't hide her pregnancy. His hand settled over the curve, large and warm and gentle. For a moment, they both stood frozen. Then the baby kicked. Dante jerked like he'd been shocked, his eyes flying to Emma's face. Was that... She's active today, Emma said quietly. Probably can sense my stress. Our daughter, Dante breathed. His other hand came up, cradling her belly from both sides now. We're having a daughter. The wonder in his voice nearly undid her. This was why she'd run. Not because she didn't love him, but because she loved him too much. Loved him enough to know that he would never willingly let her go if he knew about the baby. Loved him enough to believe he deserved better than the life he'd been living. Loved him enough to hope that maybe, someday, he could be free of the darkness that surrounded him. But she'd also known that as long as he was Dante Castellano, head of the most powerful crime family in Chicago, their daughter would never be safe, never be free, never be just a normal child with a normal life. How far along? Dante asked, his hand still cradling her belly like it was the most precious thing in the world. 32 weeks. When did you find out? After I left. His jaw tightened. And you didn't think I deserved to know? I thought she deserved to grow up alive, Emma shot back. I thought she deserved a chance at a normal life, not bodyguards and safe houses and wondering which of Daddy's enemies might try to hurt her to get to him. Dante flinched like she'd slapped him, but he didn't let go. I would have protected you, both of you. Like you protected yourself? Emma's voice broke. Like you protected Marco. The name hung in the air between them like a ghost. Marco Russo, Dante's best friend since childhood, his most trusted lieutenant. The man who'd been gunned down in the street 2 years and 3 months ago, killed by a rival family sending a message. Emma had been there. She'd seen Marco die in a pool of blood on the pavement while Dante roared and raged and held his friend's body. That night, she'd realized the truth. Loving Dante Castellano meant watching everyone around him die. It meant living with a target on her back, and she could survive that for herself, but not for a child. Never for a child. That's why you left, Dante said quietly. It wasn't a question. Marco's death. That was when I knew I had to, Emma confirmed. But I'd been planning it since our wedding day, when your uncle pulled me aside and told me exactly what kind of man I'd married. When he explained in graphic detail what happened to the wives and children of men in your position. When he showed me the photos of... Don't. Bijou. Dante's voice turned sharp. Whatever Vittorio told you, whatever he showed you, was the truth, Emma finished. You know it was. Children kidnapped and ransomed, wives murdered to send messages, families destroyed because of business deals gone wrong. That's your world, Dante. That's the legacy you're part of. Was, Dante said fiercely. His hands tightened on her belly, not painfully, but possessively. Was part of past tense, Emma. I've changed things. The organization is different now, cleaner, legitimate businesses, legal operations. Money laundering is still illegal, even if the restaurants serving as fronts are real. We've been transitioning. To what? Respectability? Emma laughed bitterly. You can't transition out of what you are. The Castellano family has been running this city for 3 generations. You think you can just walk away because you want to play house? Yes, Dante said simply. If that's what it takes to have you, to have our daughter, then yes, I'll walk away from all of it. Emma stared at him, searching his face for the lie, but she saw only terrible sincerity. You don't mean that, she whispered. Try me. He finally released her belly, only to cup her face between his hands. Emma, listen to me. I've spent 2 years looking for you. 2 years wondering if you were alive or dead, safe or suffering. 2 years of hell knowing you'd left me and not understanding why. Now I know. And you're right. You were right to be afraid. But I'm offering you a choice. Give me a chance to prove things can be different. Let me show you that I can build something better. For you, for our daughter, for us. Dante, 1 month, he interrupted. Stay for 1 month. Let me take care of you. Make sure you and the baby are healthy and safe. If at the end of that time you still want to leave, I'll let you go. I'll sign whatever papers you want, give you whatever resources you need, and I won't look for you again. But please, please don't run away with my child without giving me a chance to be a father. Emma wanted to refuse. Every rational part of her brain screamed that this was a mistake, that she should grab her coat and run and never look back. But her body was exhausted from 2 years of running. Her heart ached with loneliness and fear, and the baby was moving insistently against Dante's palm as if she could sense her father's presence. 4 weeks, she heard herself say, but I need to see real change, Dante, not promises, not plans, actual concrete evidence that you're serious about leaving that life behind. You'll have it, Dante promised. Then slowly, giving her time to pull away, he leaned forward and pressed his forehead against hers. Thank you, he breathed. Thank you for giving me this chance. I won't waste it. They stood like that for a long moment, two people who'd once loved each other desperately trying to find their way back through 2 years of hurt and fear and separation. Finally, Emma pulled away. I need to sit down, she admitted. My back is killing me. Immediately, Dante's hands were on her shoulders, guiding her toward a chair with such careful tenderness it made her throat tight. When was your last doctor's appointment? He asked. 3 weeks ago. Everything was fine. You need a new doctor, the best in the city. I'll have my assistant. Dante? Emma caught his hand. No assistants? No security details checking up on me? No guards following me to appointments? If I'm staying, I need some autonomy, some privacy. She watched him struggle with that, saw the war in his eyes between his need to protect and his desire to give her what she needed. Finally, he nodded. Okay, but you have to promise me you'll be careful, that you'll let me know where you're going and when you'll be back. Not because I'm controlling you, because I need to know you're safe. I can do that, Emma agreed quietly. Dante pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. I'm having my driver bring the car around. We'll go to the penthouse. You can have your own room, your own space, whatever you need. I have an apartment. Where? His tone sharpened. Emma hesitated. She'd been so careful not to leave a trail, paying cash for everything, using fake names. But one look at Dante's face told her that he'd find out anyway. He had resources she couldn't begin to match. Pilsen, she admitted, a studio above a bodega. Dante's jaw tightened, but he didn't comment on the neighborhood, one of the rougher areas of the city, far from the safe, wealthy enclaves where he operated. We'll send someone to pack up your things and bring them to the penthouse. You shouldn't be climbing stairs in your condition. It's only 2 flights. Emma. His voice was gentle but firm. Let me take care of you, please. You've been doing everything alone for so long. Let me help. And there it was, the core of Dante that had made her fall in love with him in the first place. Beneath the dangerous exterior, the ruthless reputation, there was a man who cared so deeply it sometimes seemed to overwhelm him. A man who protected what was his with fierce devotion. A man who, despite everything, genuinely wanted to do right by the people he loved. The problem had always been that his methods of protection, his definition of doing right, involved violence and intimidation and operating outside the law. Could he really change that? Could a man like Dante Castellano truly walk away from the empire he'd inherited and built? Emma didn't know. But as she felt the baby move again, strong and insistent, she realized she had to find out. Not just for herself, but for their daughter. Every child deserved to know their father, and every father deserved a chance to be better than his worst choices. Okay, she said quietly. Let's go to the penthouse. The drive through Chicago's downtown streets felt surreal. Emma sat in the back of Dante's town car, armor-plated, she noticed, with bulletproof glass, watching the city slide past. Dante sat beside her, not touching but close enough that she could feel his presence like heat from a fire. When did you know? He asked quietly. About the pregnancy. 6 weeks after I left, Emma admitted. I was in Detroit working at a diner. I kept getting sick during the morning shift. One of the other waitresses figured it out before I did. Detroit. Dante's voice was carefully neutral. You were that close. For 2 months. Then I went to Cleveland, then Pittsburgh, then Richmond. She didn't mention the dozen other cities, the constantly changing names and appearances, the paranoia that had become her constant companion. I kept moving, kept waiting for you to find me. I looked, Dante said, pain evident in his voice. I had people searching everywhere, but you were smart. No credit cards, no phone, no digital footprint. It was like you'd vanished into thin air. That was the idea. Why come back now? Why risk contacting Richard about the divorce? Emma was quiet for a long moment. Because she deserves a birth certificate with her father's name on it, she finally said. Because even if I never wanted you to know about her, even if I planned to raise her alone, I couldn't bring myself to erase you completely. You have a right to be acknowledged as her father, even if... Her voice caught. Even if you couldn't be part of her life. Dante turned to look at her fully, and Emma was startled to see tears in his eyes. You were going to let me sign away my parental rights without knowing I was doing it, he said hoarsely. The divorce papers. That clause about waiving all claims to any biological children of the marriage. You were going to trick me into giving up our daughter. Guilt twisted in Emma's stomach because he was right. That had been the plan. Get the divorce finalized, let Dante unknowingly sign away his rights, then disappear one final time with legal protection that would prevent him from claiming their daughter, even if he eventually found out about her. I was trying to protect her, Emma whispered. From me. The anguish in Dante's voice cut like a knife. You were trying to protect our child from her own father. From your world, Emma corrected. Not from you, never from you, Dante, but from the life you lead, the enemies you've made, the violence that follows you everywhere. I couldn't... Her voice broke. I couldn't watch our baby grow up afraid. I couldn't live wondering every day if this would be the day someone decided to hurt her to get to you. The car pulled up to a high-rise tower in the Gold Coast neighborhood, one of the most expensive addresses in the city. The driver, a massive man with alert eyes and a bulge under his jacket that spoke of concealed weapons, opened the door and offered Emma his hand. Thank you, she murmured, accepting his help out of the car. The baby's weight had shifted, pressing on her bladder and making every movement awkward. Ma'am. The driver nodded respectfully, but his eyes were scanning the street, the nearby buildings, cataloging threats with professional efficiency. See, Emma thought, this is what I mean. Even a simple car ride requires armed guards and tactical awareness. But she didn't say it aloud as Dante guided her through the building's opulent lobby toward a private elevator. The doorman and concierge greeted him with respectful nods, carefully not staring at Emma despite her obvious pregnancy and disheveled appearance. The elevator rose smoothly to the top floor. When the doors opened, they revealed not a hallway, but a private foyer that led directly into Dante's penthouse. Emma had been here before, of course. She'd lived here during their brief marriage. But somehow, walking through that door now felt different, more final, like she was crossing a threshold she could never uncross. The penthouse was exactly as she remembered, floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of the city and lake, modern furniture in shades of gray and white, expensive art on the walls. Tasteful, elegant, and utterly impersonal. Dante had never been one for clutter or personal touches. His home looked more like a luxury hotel suite than a place where someone actually lived. You should rest, Dante said, his hand gentle on the small of her back. The master suite is... I remember where it is, Emma said quietly. Something flickered in his eyes, hope, maybe, or longing. I haven't changed anything. Your things, the clothes you left behind, they're all still there. You kept them. Emma was surprised. She'd assumed he would have thrown everything away in anger when she disappeared. I kept hoping you'd come back for them, Dante admitted. Kept hoping you'd come back, period. Every day for 2 years, I walked into that closet and saw your dresses hanging there, your shoes lined up, and I let myself believe that maybe today would be the day you came home. The raw honesty in his voice made Emma's chest ache. She'd been so focused on protecting herself and the baby, so consumed by fear of Dante's world, that she'd never fully considered what her disappearance had done to him. How it must have felt to wake up one morning and find her gone without explanation, without warning, without even a note. I'm sorry, she whispered, for the way I left, for not giving you a chance to... No. Dante shook his head firmly. Don't apologize for protecting yourself and our daughter. You did what you thought you had to do. I can't fault you for that, even if it... He broke off, jaw tight. Even if it nearly destroyed me. They stood in uncomfortable silence for a moment, the weight of 2 years of pain and separation pressing down on them. Finally, Emma broke the quiet. I really do need to lie down. The drive, the stress, all of it. I'm exhausted. Of course. Dante immediately shifted into caretaker mode. Let me show you. Actually, you said you remember. Do you need help? Water? Food? The kitchen is fully stocked, or I can order anything you want. Just rest, Emma assured him. Maybe some water. She made her way to the master suite, her hand trailing along the familiar hallway wall. The bedroom was exactly as she remembered. Enormous bed with pristine white linens, sitting area by the windows, ensuite bathroom that was larger than her entire studio apartment in Pilsen. Emma sat on the edge of the bed, then lay back with a sigh of relief. The mattress was memory foam, expensive and comfortable, cradling her tired body perfectly. She closed her eyes, intending to rest for just a few minutes. When she opened them again, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. She must have slept for hours. Emma sat up slowly, feeling the baby stretch and shift inside her. "Hey, little one," she murmured, rubbing her belly. "What have we gotten ourselves into?" The baby kicked in response, a firm thump against Emma's ribs that made her smile despite everything. A soft knock sounded at the door. "Emma? You awake? Come in." Dante entered carrying a tray with water, fresh fruit, and what looked like homemade soup. "I thought you might be hungry when you woke up. Mrs. Chen made her chicken soup. I remembered you always liked it." Mrs. Chen, the penthouse's housekeeper and occasional cook. Emma had loved the older woman's kindness and her amazing food. "Mrs. Chen is still with you?" "Of course. She asks about you sometimes. Misses you." Dante set the tray on the bedside table. "I haven't told anyone you're here yet. I thought you might want some time to adjust before everyone knows the runaway wife is back and pregnant," Emma finished dryly. "Before you have to deal with questions and explanations you're not ready to give," Dante corrected gently. Emma picked up the water glass, drinking deeply. She was dehydrated, she realized. Probably had been for days, maybe weeks. Running had meant surviving, and surviving had meant ignoring her own needs in favor of staying hidden. "Try the soup," Dante urged. "You need to eat, both of you." Emma took a spoonful, and the familiar flavors made her throat tight with unexpected emotion. It tasted like comfort, like home, like all the things she'd run away from and secretly missed. "Thank you," she said quietly. Dante settled into the chair by the window, careful to keep distance between them. "I called a doctor. Dr. Sarah Winters. She specializes in high-risk pregnancies. She's coming by tomorrow morning to do a full examination, make sure everything is okay with you and the baby." "I'm not high risk," Emma protested. "You've been living in hiding for 8 months with irregular prenatal care, and God knows what kind of stress and inadequate nutrition," Dante said flatly. "That makes you high risk. Dr. Winters is the best in the city. She'll make sure you and our daughter are healthy." Emma wanted to argue, but she was too tired, and truthfully, the thought of proper medical care, of making sure the baby was okay, was incredibly appealing. "Fine, but no daily check-ins or constant monitoring. One appointment, and if everything is fine, we go to a normal schedule." "Agreed." Dante relaxed slightly. "Also, I've started making calls, reaching out to people about transitioning some of the business operations." "Dante, you don't have to—" "Yes, I do." His voice was firm. "You said you needed to see concrete change, not just promises. So that's what I'm giving you. Starting tomorrow, I'm meeting with the heads of our various operations to begin the process of legitimization. The restaurants and clubs are already legal. The construction company just needs some paperwork restructuring. The import/export business," he paused. "That one will be harder. But I'm committed to making it happen." Emma studied his face, looking for signs of resentment or insincerity, but all she saw was determination. "What about your uncle?" she asked. "Vittorio won't just let you walk away from the family business." Dante's expression darkened. "Vittorio doesn't get a vote. This is my organization, my decision. He's still the underboss. He still commands loyalty from half your men. If you try to dismantle what your grandfather and father built, he'll see it as betrayal." "Then he'll have to live with being disappointed," Dante said coldly. "Because I'm not losing you again, Emma. I'm not losing our daughter before I even get a chance to know her. If that means Vittorio and I have a problem, so be it." The certainty in his voice should have been reassuring. Instead, it terrified Emma, because she knew Vittorio Castellano had seen the cold calculation in his eyes, the ruthless pragmatism that made him Dante's most valuable and most dangerous lieutenant. Vittorio wouldn't accept being sidelined quietly, and men like him didn't respond well to being told their empire was being dismantled for the sake of a woman and a baby. "Be careful," Emma urged. Your uncle is... I know what he is, Dante interrupted. I've known for years. But he's family, and he's been loyal. I'll handle him. Emma wanted to press the issue, but exhaustion was pulling at her again. The pregnancy made her tired constantly, and the emotional weight of the day was overwhelming. Dante seemed to notice her flagging energy. He stood, moving toward the door. Get some rest. If you need anything at all, I'm just down the hall. My room or my office. You're not sleeping here? Emma asked before she could stop herself. Something raw and hungry flashed across Dante's face before he controlled it. Not unless you want me to. I meant what I said, Emma. I'll do whatever it takes to earn back your trust. If that means keeping my distance, giving you space, I can do that. Even if it kills me to be this close to you and not... He broke off, jaw clenched. Just rest. We'll talk more tomorrow. He was gone before Emma could respond, the door clicking softly shut behind him. She lay back against the pillows, one hand on her belly, staring at the ceiling and wondering what she'd just agreed to. 4 weeks. She'd promised him 4 weeks to prove he could change, could build a different life. But even as she tried to convince herself it was possible, Emma couldn't shake the bone-deep certainty that some men were too dangerous to change, and some worlds too dark to escape. The baby kicked again, stronger this time, and Emma closed her eyes. Please let me be wrong, she whispered into the gathering darkness. Please let him be the exception. Emma woke to sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of fresh coffee drifting through the penthouse. For a disoriented moment, she forgot where she was. Then the baby shifted, her belly contracted slightly, and everything came rushing back. Dante. The divorce papers. The penthouse. 4 weeks. She sat up slowly, her body protesting the movement. 8 months pregnant meant every action required strategic planning. Rolling out of bed was a 3-step process involving momentum, leverage, and occasionally some undignified grunting. A soft knock interrupted her struggle. Emma? Dr. Winters is here. Emma glanced at the clock. 9:30. She'd slept nearly 14 hours. Give me 10 minutes, she called out. She made her way to the bathroom, catching sight of herself in the mirror and wincing. Her hair was a tangled mess, her face pale and drawn. The dress she'd worn yesterday was wrinkled from sleeping in it. She looked exactly like what she was, a woman who'd been running for 2 years and was utterly exhausted. A quick shower helped. Emma found one of her old robes hanging in the closet, soft terry cloth that she'd forgotten she owned, and wrapped herself in it gratefully. Her clothes from before the pregnancy wouldn't fit now anyway. When she emerged into the living room, she found Dante standing with a petite woman in her 50s carrying a medical bag. Dr. Sarah Winters had kind eyes and an air of competent authority that immediately put Emma at ease. Ms. Carter, the doctor extended her hand warmly. I'm so glad to finally meet you. Dante has told me you've been managing your pregnancy with limited medical care. I'm here to make sure everything is progressing well. Thank you for coming, Emma said, shaking her hand. I'll give you privacy, Dante said, already moving toward his office. Actually, Dr. Winters interjected, if Emma doesn't mind, I think it would be beneficial for you to be present, Dante. There's quite a bit of information to cover, and as the father, you should be aware of what's happening. Emma wanted to protest, but the doctor's logic was sound. If Dante was serious about being involved, he needed to understand what the next few weeks would entail. I don't mind, she said quietly. Dr. Winters set up her equipment in the master bedroom, and for the next hour, Emma underwent the most thorough examination she'd had since discovering her pregnancy. Blood pressure, weight, urine sample, blood draw. The doctor asked detailed questions about Emma's medical history, her pregnancy symptoms, her diet, and living conditions over the past 8 months. Emma answered honestly, watching Dante's face grow increasingly tight as he learned exactly how rough her circumstances had been. The weeks she'd skipped meals to save money, the studio apartment with unreliable heat, the physically demanding waitressing jobs she'd worked until her belly made it impossible to hide her condition. Your blood pressure is elevated, Dr. Winters said, her tone carefully neutral. Not dangerously so, but concerning. Combined with the protein in your urine sample, I'm going to want to monitor you closely for preeclampsia. What's that? Dante asked sharply. A condition that can develop in pregnancy, the doctor explained. It involves high blood pressure, and can lead to serious complications if not managed. The good news is that Emma's levels aren't severe, and with proper rest, nutrition, and monitoring, we can likely keep it under control. And if it gets worse, Dante pressed. Dr. Winters met his eyes steadily. Then we'd need to deliver the baby early. But let's not borrow trouble. Emma, I want you on modified bed rest. That means no strenuous activity, plenty of sleep, and minimal stress. Emma nearly laughed at that last one.